Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Peachy Comeback. My name's Abby. I'm here with my sister, Stacey, and this is a channel where we talk about all things breast cancer. So I'm approaching 4 years as a breast cancer survivor in April, I forget when. I was diagnosed when I was 32 years old in October of 2020, and really no family history of breast cancer. So I have you here today because I want to talk through what happened to you not too long after my October diagnosis.
So October got you rolling with all of your stuff. And this was during COVID, after COVID, but I mean the COVID era. And so, medical appointments were a little bit off kilter and not happening necessarily.
What was going on?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so I think I was scheduled to go in for my mammogram. Maybe it was spring of 2020. And I just kind of thought, you know what, I'll do that later, whatever, no worries. And so then you got diagnosed and it kind of triggered me. And I thought, I need to go get my mammogram done. So I went in and had a mammogram done, routinely, in January of 21. And, got a phone call. And it's funny. You talk about intuition and stuff. When they were doing it, I thought, something just kind of seemed off, whatever. And so I got a phone call maybe a week later and they wanted me to go back and have it repeated. And so and instantly I was like, crap, this is it. Lightning has struck twice and this is it. I just knew. And so, because Brad's a doctor, thank the Lord, we were able to kind of fast track that. Had a repeat mammogram done literally, I think maybe 2 days later. And sure enough, there it was. And so, my response was that I just cried because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's one of those things where you think it's impossible that within 3 months we were going to be, sisters diagnosed with the same thing. It was crazy. So, left the room, went out to the, breezeway, and Brad was, of course, with me, and I just started crying. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You just can't believe it. And so it was just literally a moment of shock. And then my very next thought was, can I just not tell anybody? Which is stupid, but it's like you just think, we have enough going on, as is. I did not want to have to be, by the way, So anyway, that was my initial diagnosis kind of story.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wanted to take it on for the team, not tell anybody. That's terrible. Well, I remember the phone call and I remember you calling me.
We went straight from there to your porch, your back porch.
Yeah.
And we were like, so let's talk. And then I had mom and dad come out, after I kind of had my delusional moment of keep it secret. That's obviously stupid. And it wasn't a serious thought. But, and so we just had a powwow and I was like, hey, it's going to be fine. And I, to be fair, I had it was a miracle because the radiologist, Brad, they talked to Brad immediately afterwards. And it was obviously so incredibly micro that we knew, barring something crazy, it was not nearly as even advanced as yours was. Right. So we kind of knew going in, even from the bad news type thing, we were like, well, it's not, it's super duper duper small.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a silver lining even immediately because we knew that it probably wasn't going to be even as bad as, yours was in terms of staging.
Right. But just having that, we went from no family history in September of 2020 to within 4 months, we have 2 sisters diagnosed.
And we did have cancer. Mom's mother did have breast cancer, but it was in the 70s. It was a little bit of a weird story, but
and
nothing
females.
since then. So that's essentially, none, but
fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'm not a mom.
Right.
And you're a mom. How was it working through your own emotions of going through a diagnosis? A lot of women that get this diagnosis are moms. Yeah. How did you manage your own emotions and processing it and then having to tell that to your kids and support your kids with their emotional response?
I think it's just one of those things that based on your temperament, it just affects how you handle that kind of thing. And I just go into task mode real fast. And I am an optimist, maybe to a fault. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, And I thought that it would be fine. And so it did break my heart. I can't remember if it was a few days later. Maybe I think we had more information. We had I can't remember, but we waited a couple of days to tell the kids, and we kind of had them all gather up in the, living room. And of course they all were like, because you hear the word and it's like immediately you go to the worst case scenario in your head. And so, but just having Brad, because he's knowledgeable, and he's very calming in that situation. And so it was one of those things where I think it went kind of like, okay, guys, so mom has cancer, but it's going to be fine, basically. And they were kind of like, are you sure? And he's like, yes, because we had some information that we thought it was going to be fine. And so it was a quick conversation, and somewhere in there, we learned that I would not have to have chemo. And so that alleviated a whole lot of, I think, for them, fear, and the trauma was less, just because it was like maybe some surgery, but it's going to be fine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure that your kids, because you have 4, they probably each handled it and processed it differently, right? So you have to like meet them in their own journey.
For sure.
To try to help them think through that.
Yeah, for sure.
What was sort of, I think, thinking like the decision leading up to you ended up having a lumpectomy?
Yeah.
Were you in the camp of, so I know it's a big conversation, right? Double mastectomy versus lumpectomy. What are your thoughts on that? How'd you make that decision?
You know, that again is super duper personal. And I think so much depends on, what type you have, what stage it is. There's just so many factors. But years and years ago, I have said to Brad many times, if I ever get even a whiff of breast cancer anywhere, I'm going to say, I want a mastectomy bilaterally without question. And that held true. It was never a doubt. It was never a wait. And then, well, should I? No. I was like, no, I don't want them that bad. And so, for me, the lumpectomy was something I did, just kind of as just procedure, I think. And they did my lymph nodes around the same. Maybe it was 2 different procedures. I can't remember. But anyway, so I did that just because. And sure enough, they didn't have clean margins. And so I was like, yeah, what I said. Just let's get them both taken off. It's fine. So that was not a hard decision for me at all. And I'm a little bit, I would never tell somebody that. But if you ask me, I'm going to say, yes, do it. It's not that big a deal. It's fine to not have to have the roller coaster of, checking every 6 months or whatever it is. And just, and my doctor described it to me that the kind that I had, DCIS, is sort of like a weed. It grows and it kind of pops up here and there. And that's all I got to know. I don't want that weed in there anywhere because I don't like having to worry about things. So I'm like, yeah, you can have them. It's fine. I've had them for, 47 years. It's good. It's fine. Don't need them
So for you, it was just like how to take away one less thing to have to worry about. Right?
It removes a whole area of concern in my brain. And it was it was not even a question for me. Yeah. Not even a question.
So how would you describe, do you feel at all, not to get super whatever, but do you feel at all changed by your experience? Do you feel like you are different in any certain ways prior to the experience?
I mean, maybe. I think that, everybody says this, but it's like, oh, you see things differently. And it's true. There's an element of, and for me, I think probably my overriding way I'm changed is I am incredibly grateful. And I always was grateful, but I am more capable, I think, now of literally living every day. It's like I will routinely say, hey, we're all fine today. Yeah. Everybody that I know and love in my family, everybody's okay. We may have our things going on, but in the scheme of life, we're fine. And so I'm more able to stay in the moment, I think, maybe than I used to be. Yeah. And I maybe plan things a little bit and less
having perspective. I think what you're touching on is just having perspective about, okay, how am I going to let this affect my Richter scale?
Right.
Maybe it's a little bit different.
I'm more laid back, I think, than I was in terms of things that used to aggravate me. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Not a big deal. It's fine. Yeah, for sure.
What would be a piece of advice that you would give to a mom that's newly getting a diagnosis and doesn't know what it is, but we just know we've got something that we've got to address?
I mean, it's just terrible. That makes me so sad. I know, but I mean, you just got to hang in there. But it breaks my heart that I feel very, fortunate. And I don't think that God picks who he has favor on. I don't understand God's favor. And I don't think that it's because I did something right. I just think it just is what it is. And the thing I think that I know is if you're a believer, it's inexplainable, but his grace meets you there. And so I would just say, you got to rely on God's grace, and whatever he's asking you to walk through, I think that it's for a purpose. And I think it's important, no matter, you've got to stay mentally straight. and strong and positive, because you just have to, because none of us have guarantees of tomorrow in any way, whether it's a car wreck, a heart attack, cancer. You just don't have any guarantees. That's a false sense of hope. Well, I'm healthy. Well, you know what? You think you're healthy. You don't really know. You could have a car wreck tomorrow. So you just have to not be too hung up on a sense of security that's not really even real, I think. So I would just say, trust the Lord, and you got to just keep on moving
and dig in.
If you're going through hell, keep on walking.
And buy lots of clothes and new pajamas.
Get whatever you want. Yep.
Well, thank you for carving out time to be here.
Yeah.
This is the Peachy Comeback. Thank you all so much for listening. We're going to do this again.
Yeah.
Have a good day.